stories, and
he's like an old man there.
I've got a. I can't tell you.
You can't. Well, you can tell us, but not on podcast.
I appreciate people like Frank Miller that want to continue to push their artistic abilities, but when he starts directing movies and they're so. Can I say ugly things even though you own a comic book store?
The movies, that's totally fine.
Was he part of not Dick Tracy? What was the one that he did with
Sin City?
No, it was
Sin City. Sin City 2.
No, it was in the same vein of that.
Right.
It was Sam.
Yes.
The Spirit.
Yes, and he directed that.
Yeah, he directed The Spirit, and that was very
there's something really weird about getting behind the scenes and hearing about some of the hardships he's had over the last few years.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
And there's also the idea that there's this artist out there that has a phenomenal background between Daredevil and Dark Knight and Sin City that really shaped something and became so big. And you get pieces like this of kind of a faded glory of this moment. So it's hard to read some of this stuff because they had these pinnacle moments. And it's hard for me because I want to rip this apart because it's not good.
Right.
But there's also, there was also this stuff that happens in the background. You hear these small stories about how difficult things have been, but you also hear about how much ego is involved in things. It's kind of hard. You don't meet your idols. Don't.
Okay. On a positive note, who is a comic book writer right now that is in their pinnacle?
Well, I think has more to grow, but Tom King is one of my favorite writers right now.
Tell the audience who Tom King is.
Tom King is the current writer of Batman. He also wrote Mr. Miracle, Vision, and he's about to start a Batman Catwoman series, and I love everything that he does.
Okay.
Now, I'm curious to see where he grows, and where he may have more. This may not be his high point. He may have more fantastic things to do, but he's one of my favorite writers right now.
Okay.
Perennial favorite is Brian Michael Bendis. He's been around since the early 2000s. He's
gone from Marvel to DC.
Marvel and DC now, and I recognize his style. And it's not dated yet, and I enjoy reading what he does on like his conversational tone, like how he does with the characters. But he's been also doing it for 2 decades, so I recognize his patterns and his habits.
Right. Sean, do you have somebody you like?
I like Garth Ennis and Warren Ellis, and Alan Moore just wrapped up all his supposedly comic writing just recently with the end of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Wrapped it up as in he's not writing anymore ever?
He said he retired from comics in 2016.
Isn't he kind of a curmudgeon?
He is very stuck in his ways. He doesn't. Yeah. He wants his material be presented in the way he made it. So if it's a comic book, he didn't make a movie. He made a comic book, and he doesn't want anything to do with a movie. Yeah. He doesn't want anything to do.
He's
with
had a lot of stuff adapted to movies and TV. So they're even a Watchmen television show on HBO.
Did you hear Damon Lindelof's reply to everyone saying that Alan Moore wouldn't care for what he's doing?
No.
He basically told them go fuck themselves, and he said, "Here's the reason I'm telling you that, because that's what Alan Moore would tell you if you told him you don't like what he's doing. He would say, go fuck yourself. I'm doing what I want to do." And he said, "I got the rights for it. I want to tell this story, and I'm telling it in the spirit of it." I at least appreciated that he went to his idol and kind of went, "I'm embodying that. Go fuck yourself." Yeah, now, I'm skeptical as to what it can be, but
nobody's going to take your creation and adapt it the way that you want it to.
Of course not.
Nobody.
No.
Look at The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which has been a radio play, a book, a TV show, a movie.
It's about to be a TV
show again. So, which way do you want your material? Which way is the right way to read it? Whichever way you enjoy it is the way you want it.
You can at least be like one of my favorite writers, John Irving, who says, "Oh, you want to adapt my novel Cider House Rules? I'm going to write the screenplay." And he goes on to win an Academy Award for writing it. And he said, look, his novel was almost 600, 700 pages. And he said, I knew I had to eradicate parts of it, but I had to find ways to say that. And for him as a writer, as a very accomplished writer, that was a great challenge to find out how do I get my messages in there.
But not every writer can adapt their own idea to a movie or a show. I see that with writers that are fiction writers that comic book publishers think, hey, we can put them in comic books
Right.
And they can do fiction, therefore they're going to be great in comic books, and they can't tell a comic book story to save their life. They're just terrible because they don't know the pacing or the beats or how all the stuff works.
Right.
I mean, not every writer can go back and forth between those two, and I have seen some friends that have comic book scripts and successful comic books get a production deal, and they insist upon being the writer for the pilot and the scripts, and then they don't get picked up and it doesn't go anywhere. And I'm recognized maybe it's because you're not the person that can actually,
or you're too close to it.
You're too close to it.
You're too close to it. You don't understand the differences in the medium.
Correct.
You know, I appreciated Rodriguez bringing what's his name? We just talked about him. Frank Miller on to help co-direct the Sin City films. But I think when you watch those, without question, you see if you begin to notice people's habits, like you were saying. Robert Rodriguez, he's one of those, definitely, if you watch his stuff, you begin to see, oh, I know I'm watching him. So even though Frank Miller was a part of it, I knew who was directing that film. I never watched The Spirit. I did one day catch about 10 minutes of it, and I was like, boy, this is somebody trying to be Robert Rodriguez. And don't go into that, or if you're going to do it, do your home movies at home until you learn to do it, because, boy, you look terrible when you do it.
Every time I see like a movie that is very much the writer or director or the actor being overly themselves or overly confident in what they're doing, I always kind of imagine that they're at dinner with a group of friends or in a room with their agents, and they're like, and then I'm going to do this crazy bullshit, and they just have people going, yes, do that, do more of what you already do. Like anytime I see people that are basically showing their ego, whether it's an acting or a script or a director, or more Tarantino's got to be even more Tarantino than he was before.
Right.
I always imagine that there's this moment that happens where they're showing this off to people and they're just getting encouraged by yes people that tell them to be that big thing, instead of having editors go, maybe pull it back, maybe try this, maybe do something different. No, I'm just going to applaud you. We're going to pour more wine. It's going to be great.
Well, I think that when you get down the path and you're a Tarantino and you're on your 9th film, you've had so much success. You've actually created almost your own subgenre of this quirky, overly communicative characters, over-the-top violence, thumping soundtracks that you have how many imitators? Who's going to be your editor? Who's going to tell you, dude, maybe this is the time when you don't do that? That's all I would like to see out of somebody like Tarantino is, when you go back and watch Reservoir Dogs and you watch Pulp Fiction, those films took massive leaps into what was the way of telling stories at that time. I don't feel that he's changed that much since then. I feel that it's just been a regurgitation of it, and it's fun when he gets it right, and when it's all mixed together right, it's fun. When he gets it wrong, it's like, dude, I want to see you change. I want to see you evolve. Because I think he's an immensely talented filmmaker. I just get bored with the same thing over and over.
And I'm not picking specifically on Tarantino. I'm thinking about the fact that it's the next new Tom Cruise film. Mm-hmm. That I'm just imagining that somebody is pitching to Tom Cruise why they want him in this film, and they're over cocktails at a bar, and they're saying all the things that make him want to be interested, and that's how it becomes a movie. And Tarantino, I promise you, with the Hollywood film, he probably had a conversation with each one of those actors post-Oscars talking about his new film and saying what he wanted to do and getting him excited, and he's using that as a yes gauge as to what he needs to do to kind of amp everything up. Like everything, there's so many times where Will Smith, like it's not Will Smith is never transcending himself. He's always Will Smith. And so therefore the reason is because his agents and the screenwriter and the producers are having to do everything to make sure Will Smith is interested in this project. And so they're pitching him on it, and we just get Will Smith in the movie. Nothing interesting.
So I heard a story from Peter David, I think, about Max Allan Collins. He had written the comic book Road to Perdition.
Yeah.
Then they made the movie of it with Tom Hanks, and then they hired Max Allan Collins to write the novelization of the movie, but he wasn't able to change any of the things in the novelization from things that he saw were needed to be addressed in the movie to fix them in the book. They said that he had to stick with the movie, so he couldn't write the novel of his own movie comic book adaptation to fix it the way that he wanted it.
Why hire him?
Because he wrote the comic.
And they could put his name on it.
That's just so stupid. Once again, that's the short-sighted nature of these people that are business people that are involved in a creative endeavor. Just because he can doesn't mean he should.
on that note.
Just real curious, Road to Perdition, was it a good comic? I actually really liked the movie.
I ever read the comic.
I didn't read it as a comic, no.
I really liked that movie. It's shot beautifully. Conrad Hall, I think, shot that. One of his last.
Oh, it's Sam Mendes.
The cinematographer, Conrad Hall. Beautifully shot movie. And I've always known it was a book. I just never read it.
I didn't read it either.
Man, we totally just shit on everything on this.
In between,
welcome to
the
fandom.
shit between.
I know, yeah, shit between. Well, yeah, that's what the fandom is, right? Angry people complaining about things that they.
Why isn't everything exactly how I want it?
I think it's hard whenever you go, into anything like that. And I don't think Tarantino is something that you can go see and just go, oh, it's good. You're going to talk about, oh my God, the outrageous things about it and that hit you. And
it'd be really interesting to go and see one of his more recent films, having never seen anything that he's done before.
True.
And seeing if it would blow your mind in the same way that watching something like Pulp Fiction did the first time that I saw it. Like, what the hell?
The only equivalent I can think, and I didn't watch it, but I saw a header for it saying there was this African American kid that had never heard Freebird before, so they were going to play Freebird for him and get his opinion. That'd be kind of the same thing. You've never seen or seen a movie influenced by Quentin Tarantino. Now watch this, and what do you think of it?
Yeah, I mean it's interesting, and to be fair, again, I liked Hateful Eight. I liked things with Tarantino, and I'm sorry I took us down this rabbit hole of shit on everything. But look, you can like people. I think that's the truth. I don't necessarily agree with people that say that's my favorite person. I like everything they've done.
Just because you like somebody doesn't mean you have to agree with every.
Agreed.
So we found a new video series. Kids see Tarantino for the first time. We're supposed to go do a series of kids seeing some type of
and it's just 5 minutes of them crying.
But it's us exposing kids to things they haven't actually ever seen before that we've seen a million times. That are just kind
kids
of
try heroin for the first time.
Kids watch porn for the first time.
Wow. So I'm not a part of anything that they're talking about right now.
We're going to use Abby for these experiments, if you don't mind.
Abby is so desensitized. Everything that she's like, I want to see this. I don't think so. Well, I watched Game of Thrones. Damn, I lose that conversation.
All right.
Kids read Frank Miller for the first time. Like, we'll just bring them all in to see what they do.
What does dirty horror mean, Daddy?
Can we do that here at Zeus as people bring their kids in?
That'll be our new club, reading club.
We're gonna have
the Frank Miller Club.
We're going to have some ironclad waivers. Our kids might be exposed to language, violence, and bad directing and writing.
And bad directing. On that, I think that's it.
All right.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.